Greetings, I'm Rob Chapman.
And I'm the Captain.
Welcome again once more unto our world, the world of Captain and the Chappers and Andertons in
Back
Guildford.
in the room that
Back
we love
in the room
the best.
that we love.
And not a shitty pub somewhere. Well, it's not a shitty pub, it's a great pub, but you know, as in a pub where we had to be because we cocked up the I cocked up the booking. I cocked up.
Yes.
Anywho.
Should we stand by these amps?
Stand by me.
Take your cable out.
'Cause I'll be your friend. There is actually a standby switch on the back of it if you wanted to use it.
You know what? I couldn't find it because it's such a small device and I hadn't looked.
So
Those two things put together made me an idiot.
I'm going to hold up for you, the people, the latest and greatest technology in micro nano midget amps from the wonderful people at Vox. Check that out, Rob. Look at that.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Fits in the palm of your hand.
Oh yeah, it does have a standby switch on the back. And an attenuator. Are we attenuated then?
Do you know what? I'm going to talk the people through the features of this.
Okay.
So, the clever people at Vox. Now, here's a bit of history. Vox has been around since the 1950s. One of the, probably one of, if you like, the original kind of amp manufacturers in the world, used by famous artists from the Beatles and Hank Marvin through to Brian May and Bryan Adams and anyone else called Brian, for that matter. And they are also, well, more recently, I say more recently, at some point in its history, they were acquired by the clever people at Korg.
Korg are absolutely huge, in case you didn't know that.
Yes, so, and I quite like the way they sort of split the resource behind Vox. So if they're just designing like an AC-15, AC-13, like a heritage model, they leave that entirely up to the British designers who've been doing Vox for a long time and just said, you design those amplifiers. And then when they're designing modeling amplifiers and stuff with new technology in it, they collaborate, stop and listen. Or whatever
Ice is back with a brand new invention, something. Grab a hold of me tightly. Oh my God, when the entire 80s and 90s has went straight through my head.
So Vox amplifiers. Yeah, so look. This is called the MV series. There are 3 amps in the range: the MV Clean, the MV AC, which I guess would be perhaps it's a nod to its more heritage sound, and the MV Rogue. And they are, I'm going to let you guess now. If you don't already know, actually the clue is in the name, isn't it? But guess how loud these things are. That is a 50-watt guitar amp.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid.
It's pretty stupid.
I must admit,
watts.
when Lee said to me yesterday, which is when I found out we were doing these Vox amplifiers, that we were doing little tiny affordable Vox amplifiers,
Yeah.
a little bit of me died. Just a little bit of me. Because I thought, oh, it's going to be some kind of semi-good, not great little affordable.
Wouldn't be
I
new
walked
tube,
upstairs.
it would be poo tube.
I'm in the process of buying a guitar, maybe guitars, for recording, because Dorje recording an album later this year. And as I walked up the stairs, I thought, I think they're playing my new guitars. I wonder what amps they're using. It definitely doesn't sound like the Vox amps, and it was the Vox amps.
Now, one of the hardest things about making guitar amplifiers is we all love tubes
I love
or valves, depending on which side of the Atlantic Ocean you live on, but we're talking about the same thing. And I guess the problem with valves is they are relatively expensive as components go, make a lot of heat, so therefore, are difficult to put into small devices, and, take up a lot of space. So you wouldn't think that a little doodah like this could have a tube in it. And you'd kind of be half right. Except, of course, those clever people at Korg have teamed up with another clever Japanese manufacturer that I can't remember their name, but they have designed a thing called a new tube, which our wonderful editor Rory will flash an image up on screen right now. And it's kind of looks a bit like an EEPROM that might go in a computer, like one of these chips with prongs on it that you put it in.
But actually, it's got real bits of tube in it.
It absolutely have. And it's essentially, in fact, you know what? I'm going to just refer to my notes because I can actually tell you. So basically, here we go. It is similar to a conventional vacuum tube, has an anode grid filament structure, and operates exactly as a triode vacuum tube does. But of course, it doesn't make anything like the heat or take up anything like the space or cost anything like as much as a conventional preamp tube.
Question, YouTube. Is this just the natural evolution of the valve/tube? Are we eventually going to have to get to the point when things change and produce new things and things are reevaluated and things are made better, more affordable, safer? Like, for example, your iPhone. If you think about your iPhone 5 years ago, what was it like and what is it like now?
Imagine it was like a cup with a bit of string coming out of it 20 years ago, wasn't it? You used to do that, just hold it up and listen to like your brother or your sister going, hello? And now it's a digital web wandering thing.
Actually did used to do that.
Yeah.
But is this, are we accepting of this change? Or is this something that we resist steadfastly because we're like that? Are we more accepting if it's an affordable tiny thing than if it's in a big thing?
I think that it's hard. No one's got a crystal ball. But I suspect somebody's got a crystal ball. Whether it does anything or not, who knows? But I suspect at some point in the future, for reasons perhaps to do with health and safety or demand or cost or all three of those things, that conventional glass vacuum tubes will cease to be manufactured. We could be talking 10 years down the line, 50 years, 100 years, whatever. And I suspect that either digital modelling will take over because it'll just be so utterly, impossible to tell the difference anymore, or someone will just invent an easier to manufacture, a cleaner, more environmentally friendly version of a tube, and that's kind of what new tube is. So look, we have talked plenty. So that's what's basically inside this. The power amp, the 50-watt power amplifier, is a Class D power amplifier that's very widely used in audio equipment. Lots of guitar amps have that type of power section. So it's just if you like, in the preamp is where the tube works. On the back, this might be easier for us to sort of flash up a picture of one on screen now rather than a close-up, but we'll see. On and off switch, standby switch. Here's my only criticism, and in fairness, probably a slightly unfair criticism, because I suspect it's got a super weird, unique power supply.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a 19 volt fat barrel, whatever you want to call that, power supply. So, downside, I'm guessing, is if you lose the power supply.
I reckon you can get one of those in Woolies.
I doubt it. But you never know.
Woolies no longer exists.
Oh, that's true. You definitely couldn't get one in Woolies. No. What would be the American equivalent of Woolies? Big general store that's gone bust recently.
Well, it was like a mom and pop store that did well and made like 50 numbers of them.
I like this feature because I think this is in recognition of the fact that you may end up using a very small cab or a bigger one, but you have an EQ control to either run it flat, which is what we're doing into the big cab, or deep, which is what we're doing into the little cab. Then you can attenuate it, which is crazy. You can go down to from full power output, 1/10 power output, or 1/100th power output.
That's crazy.
The volume, or the power output at least, of the amplifier changes depending on the impedance of the speaker. So into a 4 ohm speaker or two 8 ohm speakers to get your 4 ohms, you'd get 50 watts. Into an 8 ohm speaker, which is this one, you would get 25 watts in full mode. And into a 16 ohm speaker, which is the 212, you would get 12.5 watts.
What?
What?
Well, shall I play them some soundage then?
So Rob is plugged into the rock one. I'm plugged into the AC one, and we'll come to the MV one. We have got reverb pedals plugged into the front because, as you notice, there's no reverb and there's no effects loop, so we've got to go.
In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll start off without the reverb pedal just to give them native tone. I should say that the gain is only set to about 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like early morning coffee time tone. And,
do you want to go into this speaker or the big speaker?
I'm happy with the big speaker.
Go on the big speaker, so this is a regular Vox 212 with the two G12M greenback speakers in them.
It's that's what that is.
Great.
That's stupid.
And that's only 12.5 watts, and we've only got the volume not even halfway up.
And I will say, I was absolutely fooled that it doesn't have a traditional valve in at least the preamp.
Let's see. So back the volume down, because that's kind of typically where you'll often be able to. You'll get that sense that it's a fake amp.
So
no
reverb
pedals.
and no pedals. So just. It could get it really clean if you want to. But why would you want to? Can I just
sounds fantastic.
Can I just see what the gain's like if I put it to 2 o'clock? It's great.
And if you drop tune it and really chuck. Sounded a lot better with the gain at around 2 o'clock and almost sort of, I guess, the volume mirroring that at around 2 o'clock. Pushing it a bit more, you get that sag, which is really interesting. Well, I don't
because
know
when
whether,
do you get sag?
I mean, I wonder if that's more to do with the fact that the speakers are just enjoying being driven a bit harder or whatever. But
they do love it.
It sounds great. So that's the rock one. I've got, now what I've done is they've also designed a matching, two matching cabs actually for this. So they've got the really little one with the 8-inch speaker, which is what I'm plugged into. And then there's a 12-inch version of this as well. This is only £89, this speaker, so we've got to be realistic about what we might, the types of sounds we would get from this. The 12-inch speaker looks exactly the same grill cloth, same vinyl covering, same piping, but obviously it's bigger. That's $249, and let's have a little listen.
Sorry, I've got a question.
Yes.
What's eco?
To be honest with you, it's some ridiculous, probably EU directive that we're not allowed to call on and off anymore. So we have to have eco mode on or off. What?
That was just like, what?
I don't really understand. I'm assuming it means
economy.
It's more environmentally friendly to have your amp switched off than it is to have it switched on.
Because it's using less. But
obviously it's, you know.
Well, I was like,
I know. I just don't understand.
Where's the on-off switch? That's why I didn't have to turn it off.
I'm getting to that age now where I'm becoming a grumpy old man. I just don't like. I don't like the fact that we're not allowed to, you know. Victory aren't allowed to use the word standby anymore. It says preheat, and these aren't allowed to use on and off. Has to be eco. Can't call someone a anymore. I'm sorry. I'm plugged into the AC, the MV50 with the AC kind of characteristic. I believe actually I may have told a small porky pie about what eco mode is, because I think what this amp has I just turned around and this amp wasn't working. I was like, oh no, the curse of the Chappers and the Captain demo where gear blows up halfway through. But it wasn't that. It had, by the looks of things, I'm guessing that eco mode is...
It's like your laptop.
It just switches the thing off if you don't use it. And what you've got to do is you've got to lean around the back and kind of go... and then it kind of pops back on again. So, again, why you have to have that...
Should we verify that with the man from Vox?
Yes.
So, it's an EU directive. Electronics need to have a thing on the back where they go to sleep just like a laptop does.
Just like me. If I don't do anything for an extended period of time, I will go to sleep.
You know what? There's one burning question in my mind. Well, the burning question in my mind is, how loud is it?
Let's hope it's not a burning question, but let's see how loud it goes. Shall I just... Come on then, here we go. You play and I'll start...
All the way up. I mean, it's really loud.
Well, don't forget, we're only getting 12.5 watts out of it because of the impedance of this speaker cabinet. So,
do we think we could gig with that?
Well, I think it's as loud as any of the little micro amps that are out there.
It's really on the border, isn't it?
It's borderline. Well, I bet you if you were to run this into
what, a 412?
Well, something that did get it to... Ideally, what you really want is like 2 8-ohm cabs so that you can drop it down to 4 ohms and you get the 50 watts, and then I'm absolutely convinced you'd be able to gig with it. As it stands like that, I think it's the same as all the micro amps in that your overdriven sound would be loud enough. If you back down to clean, you might struggle a bit.
Yeah.
A couple of microphones. However, I did mean to say, and I forgot to tell you this when I was doing the spec, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if it's not too much of a pain in the arse before the end of this demo. The headphone socket is also an emulated line output.
Oh, right.
So we might as well at least just chuck this into the desk, see what the emulation's out. Might be crap, who knows. But if it sounds okay, you could then essentially gig with this into your speaker cabinet and just give the sound guy a feed out the headphone output.
Well, you know,
get an emulated output.
It's about as loud as one of those micro darks, isn't it?
That's what I was thinking.
I saw on Instagram, Book, Faceland, YouTube, a couple of Texas guys in a band just rocking 2 of those. And they seem to be doing fine.
I think you could. Anyway, look, so here is the MV50 AC with reverb. I've got a Boss reverb pedal on the floor. I'm using an Epiphone Les Paul because I take note of all the comments, well, most of the comments anyway, about the fact that we are just surrounded with guitars that are like unaffordable.
And you love that one, don't you?
And this is really good. So I haven't restrung this. This was literally straight off the shelf in the store. Sounds bloody good to me.
Yeah.
So obviously the little speaker, the biggest difference in sound between what Rob was playing and what I'm playing is clearly the fact that we're not going through the smaller speaker. But
could we just, for the sake of comparison,
Yeah.
quickly put that through the double speaker
Yeah,
so that
well,
people
let's
can
do
hear
it.
that as well?
Let me run through the rest of the tones on this through this, and then we'll swap it over. Got a new chord. Anyway, of course you could use this with a drive pedal if you want more juice out of it, and I've got my favourite Fulltone Plimsoul on the floor here.
To a bit of woman tone then, Lee.
Oh, it's just nothing wrong, is there, with that? Like, that just sounds... I'm very impressed. I'm very, very, very impressed. I have got the deep switch on here to compensate for the fact that the speaker is small. But let's, as Rob said, let's plug the bigger speaker in and see how close to an actual AC30 we get. We're now plugged into the 212 cab, same.
It's vanished.
It's fine. It'll sound totally different now. I've got a different plectrum.
It's loud. It's really loud.
Yeah, but it's just like...
It's good.
I'm not sitting here thinking I'm playing through some little cheap amp.
No, we're really not. No.
I'm sitting here thinking I've got a good guitar sound out of an affordable guitar and a super affordable and compact little guitar amp. So look, so that's the AC one. I mean, again, same as Rob's. It'll clean up nice. Well, it'll clean up. I got a serious plectrum dropping issue today. It'll clean up nice as well. Great little pedal amp. All looks good. So, the last bit, and actually so far, really, really surprisingly, the most popular one has been the clean one. And I'm wondering whether or not I wonder whether people are just like bolting these to their pedal boards or something and just using them as like a pedal amp or whatever. But we're going to plug the clean one in and jam out so that you can see. Well, actually, I'll give you a quick demo of what the clean one sounds like. Actually, the other thing we haven't done yet is just do the attenuation. Rewind.
But the cross-say balls, rewind. This one comes up for all the late.
Just to confuse everybody out there, I was holding the MV50 clean whilst telling you what all the buttons on the back do, and it would appear that the MV clean has a very slightly different back panel to the AC or the rock. So it's only the clean one that has this like full to 1/10 to 100th power output, and it's the AC and the rock one just for some reason have an impedance selector instead. So I wonder what happens on the clean one if you just put a different...
Let's try it, man. Plug it in. So how much are these?
Weird. $199. $199 for the amp, $89 for the little speaker. So like a sub £300 set.
Right.
But I suspect where these will be most popular will be guys who are gigging with a conventional head and cab and will just go one of these in the gig bag or one of these on the pedal board or whatever, and
The rock
plug
one.
straight into the cab. So anyway, right, we'll jump over to the clean. Big clean sound. Still got the reverb on.
That's
Sounds
really
great,
good.
doesn't it? Yeah, it's really good. With my new chord. That's not, that apart from the reverb pedal, that's no.
If so, that was just over halfway. But if we gun it, does it get a bit of crunch?
Who knows? Probably if
that
I'm
reverb
gunning
off.
that, I'm gonna have to just turn the reverb down a bit. So you're gunning the. Oh, so
gunned the
we've
gain,
just got
gunned the
treble and
volume.
bass. I see. So
Yeah.
there's no gain control
No,
on the
no.
clean. It's just a. Little bit, isn't there?
Just a
little bit of
tiny,
hair.
tiny bit of hair. We now know why a lot of people are buying this, because it's a rig.
This is a confused face. I love it.
I like it.
I mean, I
think
again-
it sounds better when it's just.
You know, I'm not going to be running out to sell my £1,000 valve amplifier tomorrow to replace it with one of these.
No, but if you were touring, you might get one of those and put it on your pedal board.
Absolutely would. And I can kind of see, as you sort of said a second ago, why maybe the clean is the one that's selling the best, because I genuinely do think pedal board guys are just going to go, why not stick one? Literally, this probably would go on
Yeah.
the board or like
Yeah, yeah.
in the pedal case, and then it's like, yeah, it just in case my regular head craps out on me or whatever, boom, straight into the cab. So let's jam out with you playing whatever you like. And you can be
All
through
right.
whichever speaker you like, and can I just stay with this MV50 and my distortion pedal, because it just sounds
You can-
fripping
you can-
great. Do you want to
you
go AC and just gun it with the?
Well,
Because you've got the telly, I think you go old school.
All right, man.
think you can probably tell by our facial expressions we are mightily impressed.
Yeah. I would buy I'd buy that over most of the other competition.
A million %. Now, Pete Honore was kind of going, yeah, well, if it's £200 for that, and you know, wouldn't you just go and buy like a second-hand little, you know? And I'm sort of thinking, do you know what? There's always going to be a second-hand alternative that looks like good value. So I think it's kind of unfair to sort of say that. And I think it's without a doubt for me, its biggest selling factor is its size.
Yeah.
And the fact that it just sounds great is just a bonus.
Yeah,
it's like. So,
but we should definitely do an updated micro amp shootout. Yeah,
I'm just putting it out there, based on today's demo and with no scientific A/B test against it or anything like that. For me, this is the new daddy of the micro amp market.
Right.
Just saying.
You heard it here first.
Although, again, just going to quickly backtrack and shovel myself out of a hole. It is twice the price in the UK of an Orange Micro Terror,
right?
Which was the previous, in my opinion, daddy.
Right.
And may well still be the daddy when we do an A/B test, and I suppose will always be. It is cheaper. So
how much is an HT5 head?
HT5s are like 350 quid or something like that.
The head,
you know, maybe a bit cheaper.
Okay.
But it's certainly the one that's similar money to one of these is the HT1.
Oh, okay.
So big power difference. And again, HT1R is still it's a small head, but it's not. Fit in the
you wouldn't put it on your pedal board.
No.
I'm guessing you could take this bar off with a hacksaw.
As promised, here's the emulated output. So there's a headphone socket on the back, doubles up as a speaker emulated output. So we're running this straight into our interface. I can't hear what this sounds like. So if the speaker emulation is rubbish, then you know that's what it is. And if it's really good, then you know that's what it is as well. So here we go, clean. And distortion. There we go. I don't really like doing these kind of emulated output things because we have no idea. So it could be like, in fact, Rory, if it sounds great, go. And Roy, if it sounds rubbish, go. There we go. I'll leave you to decide.
And if it sounds all right, go. I've been Rob Chapman.
Okay, and I've been the captain.
See you later.
See you later.
This is Rory from the UK. Tell me about Rory.
So he edits videos. Rory's awesome.